Hello and welcome to another episode of Digital Marketing Answered. I'm Tim Butler, founder and CEO of Innovation Visual. Thank you very much for sharing your time and attention with us. And today I'm really excited that we have got Thomas from Surfer. Tom is the CMO and co-founder of Surfer, where he specializes in product marketing, strategic planning, positioning, and obviously SEO. Leading a team of 9 specialists, he has over the last decade helped hundreds of marketing teams grow their organic traffic. Beyond work, Thomas is passionate about geopolitics, energy, business, and travel. So we're really very happy to welcome Thomas to Digital Marketing Answers. Well, nice to have you here.
Great to be here with you, Tim. And I can't wait for our discussion.
Great stuff. Well, I think it'd be good to start off with maybe a bit of background about where you've come from, what you've done. I think it'd be interesting for everybody.
Sure. So I started my journey with online marketing when I was like 11 years old. That's when I started building websites. Very basic stuff, but I was just interested in coding, building websites, so on. But shortly after I started doing it, I discovered that, well, having a website that no one visits is not particularly interesting, and this is how I turned I turned towards SEO, because, well, it seemed for me the easiest way to gain at least some traction without spending money on ads or anything else, right? So I believe I was like 12 years old when I started doing very basic SEO. It was like 2011, 2012, because I'm like from 1990.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. And so, given that you've been doing it for so long, like you've seen a lot of changes, and the title of this is around AI, content strategy, and SEO. Like in terms of where we're going, I don't think you can talk about SEO in any meaningful way at the moment without, referring to AI. So, like talking a little bit about Surfer, and maybe some of the people listening don't understand Surfer. Could you give them some background on where Surfer's come from, but also where Surfer is now and where it's going to?
Of course, with pleasure. So a little bit of background. We founded Surfer in 2018, and at first it was a pretty complicated internal tool that one of the founders, Sławek, used in his SEO agency. It basically looked at all of the pages that rank in top 10 or top 20 for a given keyword, and scraped all the information possible from HTML. And then based on, let's say the need of SEO specialist, it draws some charts that showed correlation between a ranking factor or group of ranking factors and positioning SERPs. So basically what it was doing, it was just scraping data and putting it into nice charts. And then SEO specialists could look at the huge amount of data and say, all right, let's just ignore 100 of factors that seem to not have any correlation with that particular keyword and rankings, but then put a little bit more time into analyzing what's going on here. And for example, here I mean 3-4 ranking factors, such as word count or partial keyword density or keyword density, exact keyword density, things like that. That was a very basic on-page SEO that we were doing back then. But because we developed a solution that worked in the cloud and was actually made to scale, we started acquiring more and more users. And over, I think, a year or maybe 2 years, we had almost 2,000 users, free users. And we found out that, well, if we have that many users that use it actively, maybe there is a way for us to build a good business out of it. And that's how we made the conclusion that, well, it's worth giving a shot. We started bootstrapping this company. We are still fully bootstrapped, and without any external funding, we were able to just keep expanding on this baseline idea that after you analyze what's working for pages that rank high on SERPs, you probably are able to detect how you can win the SERPs, right? And we were expanding on that idea over the years, from analyzing what's going on with SERPs to helping people create content that already matches all the checkboxes, up to the moment that we are now into the AI generative AI era, where we are also able to help people figure out what are the topics they are missing, how to cover them, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's how the last 6 years kind of looked for us.
So effectively, you were born out of using data to unpick the algorithm for certain keywords by going, hey, for this keyword, these are the factors that really impact the results, looking at the data points in the results, and these things, don't worry so much about them for this particular one. It's a fascinating thing, because it's like the holy grail, isn't it, really, actually being able to unpick the Google algorithm?
Definitely. Yes, 100%. And it went into parallel with Google switching focus towards a bit more of analyzing what's going on a particular website. They introduced BERT, NLP, right? And they started really creating all of those knowledge graphs, not only based on backlinks, a number of citations, mentions, whatever, but they really started analyzing the content itself. And this transition, this trend, really helped us grow Surfer to the stage that we are at right now.
Yeah. And is it able to kind of understand, to a degree, personalization and intent within that, or does it have to just go broadly, this is where you need to be for rankings?
Well, it all starts with reverse engineering. So we look at what's going on on the SERP. We are able to identify the search intent behind any query that user typed in. And then based on the intent and the top ranking pages for that keyword, we are generating personalized recommendations for the owner of the website that wants to compete for that term, right? So this is how it works now.
Okay, interesting. So I suppose the thing that we need to talk about is how generative AI is really moving the goalposts in terms of SEO. You've mentioned how Google is interpreting things and the evolution from 2018 to now. But what do you see as the impact in terms of Gen AI on the algorithm to start with, because it's changing in different areas?
Yeah, so I think it's we need to look at this from a couple different perspectives. So for the algorithm itself, it's already an extremely sophisticated thing, and it's when you look at the history of Google, it all started with a pretty simple idea of just ranking pages higher if they had more mentions, more backlinks, more citations. But now, it was really easy to manipulate. And then it just keeps evolving and evolving. And we went to the place where this algorithm is extremely complicated. And it looks like on different parts of your websites, from behavioral signals that they get from Google Chrome, and from even looking at how much time they spend on a particular website before coming back to SERPs, up to backlinks and through content and all of that. And Gen AI, to some extent, makes it easier for Google to assess the facts and the information, but it also makes it much easier for people to manipulate the search, right? With optimize content, and so on. And this is the place we are in right now. This Google trying to find the balance between fighting with all of those techniques and promoting genuinely helpful content for users, and people trying to use Gen AI to keep manipulating search and rank higher with a content that's not necessarily, extremely useful for the user, but can drive them a lot of money. So I think, it's like always. It's exactly as it always has been. There's a new technology that Google uses to their benefit and users' benefit, but also we SEOs, we use that to, manipulate the search.
Yeah. I mean, we're users of Surface tools when it comes to helping our clients, and I've seen the power myself of what actually happens on the platform in terms of the optimization and as you say, this working from the reverse engineering thing. Your tool, like others, actually uses Gen AI to help users create content faster that's optimized. How do you see that? Like, because you talk about SEOs using Gen AI to actually create that optimized content. What do you think the impact of that's going to be? Is it just you've got to use it as a marketing leader, or and if you don't use it, you get left behind, or do you think that it's not going to, it's you can still do it manually? What's your take?
Yeah, I would say, of course, you can try doing things manually, but what for? I mean, the huge amount of repetitive tasks that used to take weeks or even months for people can be now automated with AI, with tools like Surfer. And if you can make your team much more productive, much more creative by just implementing a solution that costs you $100 a month, but replaces, let's say, 2-3 weeks worth of work for some person, right? It's more, in my opinion, it's a no-brainer, right? So why to do it manually? I don't fully understand. But there are some aspects that definitely require human touch, human supervision, which, for example, is publishing content, writing content, generating content. You at the current stage of the, let's say, development of Gen AI, you really can have a pretty decent draft of the article that will, check all the boxes, will probably provide all the necessary facts and information that currently is available out there, but it not necessarily would have this so-called soul or, personalization or the style or tone, wherever you will call it. So in my opinion, if you can make your team more productive, at the same time, you should request from your team to spend more time on, making sure that every content piece that you publish is top notch. It's just original piece that has something to it, that your company specializes in, that your insights or your company insights can benefit the user better. Because ultimately, I believe that that's how we should look at AI as a tool that just helps you become more efficient, but not as some sort of replacement for anything that you used to do and that you kind of get paid for, right? If you can write more articles every month, that's great, because AI can help you draft those articles, but then you also have more time to be creative. I would say that that's what we should request from people using AI, and that's how I view our developments. We want to make tools that put user in the center, right? In let's say, as a driver.
In the driving seat. Yeah. Okay. So that's really interesting, and I think that you're of the mindset of the co-pilot, the AI assistant, kind of, working alongside, not replacing. But we have seen some evidence of people just generating a lot of content with AI, Gen AI, and just whacking it out there. What do you think the impact of that is? Because some marketing leaders might be thinking, well, it's all well and good that it's optimized and it's co-piloted, but why don't I just get the AI to write it because my team doesn't have time?
Well, we already saw the impact of it, right? The 2022 era was all about publishing, a crazy amount of content and, optimizing it with some simple techniques and actually ranking. But at the same time, when some brands were doing it, Google started to receive so many complaints from users that results on Google are becoming less and less helpful, right?
Right.
So they really needed to balance it. And that's why they released so violent updates recently.
Yeah.
Spam update, helpful content update, all of those updates really pushed that, let's say, not helpful, weak content away, to the extent that some truly, genuinely helpful brands were affected as well. And
Yeah.
we are seeing some sort of recoveries right now after the recent developments, but
Yeah.
probably to not the extent that we all would wish for. And the let's say the impact of it can be seen on the traffic chart of traffic growth for pages like Reddit and Quora. Google really prefer to show user-generated content on platforms that
Yeah.
can allow people to vote for the answers rather than
Right.
rank websites that don't have a solution to prove that the
Yeah.
content is really helpful, right? So
Yeah.
that's why Reddit and Quora and pages like that started gaining momentum and traction, because Google
Yeah.
still didn't figure it out a way to really rank to rank
Yeah.
helpful content the right way. But I'm sure they're working on it, and ultimately this is going to change at some time. They started rolling out the update today. We are talking on 12th November, November
Yeah.
12th. They
Yeah.
started rolling out the newest update. It will take 2 weeks to fully
Yeah.
roll out, to be rolled out, and we'll analyze what happened. My opinion, as for now, is that they're going to keep promoting this helpful content, and they will keep
Yeah.
fighting for figuring out the way to assess that.
Yeah. So I suppose what we're saying is that the AI, the pure AI written content actually is not helpful when you look at it, when you read it beyond the sort of superficial. It's got a load of words and it's got stuff and headings around the subject, but it's not particularly helpful in terms of depth of knowledge. Is that what we're saying? And Google's trying to identify that.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, it can be helpful. For example, for less sophisticated topics, like even some descriptions of something, or purely to kind of get to understand something not sophisticated, you definitely can read AI generated content, and you will get all the information you want. I started using ChatGPT for many searches that I probably couldn't use Google for,
Yeah.
and it's helpful, definitely. But what I was trying to say is that the bar is on the AI lowered the bar, right? So everyone
Yeah.
can produce that AI generated content. You don't have to pay $20 for ChatGPT anymore to generate AI content, right? You can
Yeah.
type chat.com and generate something and publish it on your
Yeah.
website. But doesn't make internet a better place? Will it make your user, let's say, satisfied? I don't think
Yeah.
so. So what I would suggest doing is to treat AI as it should be treated, as a tool that
Yeah.
helps you in various areas. It can be
Yeah.
extremely helpful in many, many things, but you shouldn't be replacing yourself with
Yeah.
AI. So I also know some people that just, generate content and publish it without any supervision. And I don't understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels a little bit, I would say, even annoying for me when I see something like that,
Yeah.
especially on LinkedIn. Recently I started seeing so many comments on my under my post that are purely AI generated, and I'm wondering
Yeah.
what those people have in mind if they want to build connections and it starts with AI generated fluff. how they perceive me viewing that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you expect, right? So yeah,
Maybe they just think that you don't notice the fact that it's fluff, because it's a typical, it's a spammy technique, isn't it? I get this all the time. So you get somebody reaching out to you, trying to connect, and they've liked and commented on some of your posts, so
yeah, yeah,
their name appears a few times, and maybe they think that the
yeah.
team
But
can get there.
I mean, it's something that I mean, they try to mimic all of those large language models. Try to mimic let's say the way people write stuff, right?
Yeah,
But and they are really good at it. If you would ask ChatGPT to refine something for you, I'm pretty sure it will do the good job. But you
yeah,
need to feed it with something. And if you feed that large language model with your LinkedIn post and you ask them to just provide some sort of response to it,
yeah,
it will probably just paraphrase whatever you wrote
yeah,
there. If you won't feed it with any unique information in any unique perspective, it'll just
yeah.
paraphrase it and say something like, "Ah, great post. I
Go.
agree that blah blah blah." You know, and
Yeah,
you say the same thing. And
yeah,
well, yes, I noticed that it's AI generated because no one
yeah,
would write anything like that.
yeah, yeah. I can't wait. I'm gonna find some posts of yours in future and see if you can tweak which ones I write human and which ones I get AI to write. But if I may, I'm going to take us slightly on a tangent and pick up on something that you said just a little while ago, which was you now use ChatGPT to do searches that you otherwise might have thought about Google, or think that Google can't handle. And I just want to get your take, Tom, on what you see as the evolution of search.
Yeah, this is the question I'm thinking a lot about recently, because if you'd expand on the SEO acronym, right, it's search engine optimization, and it really doesn't matter what kind of search it is. You still can apply some optimization techniques, and you can even consider YouTube as search engine, right? And you can optimize towards showing up higher. Of course, it's a little bit more complicated because YouTube has this behavioral data about how people are engaging with the videos and so on. But still, to some extent, it's possible. The same applies to TikTok and other search engines such as ChatGPT or Perplexity, right?
Yeah,
They there are ways to optimize it towards it. But you ask about the evolution. So
yeah,
it changes, right? And I don't know how the future will look like in like 2-3 years from now, if not to say 5 or 10. But from what I see now, my imagination tells me that search will change to the extent that people will be able to do stuff that they couldn't do in an old search. That's
yeah,
one thing, right? So we'll be getting much more, let's say, usage on ChatGPT and other platforms, but from people that normally wouldn't do it anywhere. Not like they used to do it on Google and now they just
yeah.
use ChatGPT and it's cannibalizing itself. I think that it's rather going to the direction that we expand the possibilities. So people are searching more and doing more on those platforms without necessarily cannibalizing itself. To
Okay.
some extent, of course. And that's one thing. And the second thing is that, well, those Gen AI platforms make search more conversational, which makes people search even more and more, but stay within the same within the same platform,
Yeah.
which can cannibalize some traffic on other
Right.
platforms. Because normally, if you look at, I don't know, any given topic, you, for example, search information about the car that you are, thinking of buying or whatever, you would
Yeah.
probably start with some generic questions. Then, after you get more and more information on various platforms, you will have
Yeah.
more questions to ask, probably on Google. But now,
Yeah.
if you have a place where entire process can be kind of streamlined, right?
Yeah.
You probably won't go anywhere else. You'll still stick to this one place, like Perplexity or ChatGPT. And this is where I see the cannibalization that can materialize. And to some extent, I perceive this as a threat to Google, but not necessarily to SEO in general, because as I mentioned, SEO is about optimizing towards search engine. So we as SEOs will have, let's say, a little bit different job. Instead of optimizing only towards Google, we'll be now optimizing toward Bing, for example, because stuff that ChatGPT, the searches that ChatGPT is doing through Bing. So you have another reason to treat Bing a little bit more seriously than it used to be. And for other platforms, there are, a different methods to optimize for. So not necessarily a perfect answer to your question, but truly, I don't have a perfect answer as for now. I don't know.
I don't have a perfect answer anyway. I mean, I like what you've said is really resonates with what I was thinking as well. And I think that one of the things that I find both an opportunity for consumers, but also a threat to, should we say, smaller business owners. I want to say small, just those that are not ChatGPT or Google or similar, is this idea of combining the assistant model like your Alexa or your Google Assistant with search and using Gen AI through a journey. So the example of, rather than searching for find me, like the example is I'm looking at places to go mountain biking with a friend, find me flights to Portland, Oregon, might be replaced by find me flights and dates to great mountain bike destinations in the US for next summer. And then you don't ever visit the booking.coms, the Expedias of this world, or the airline websites. You just get churned back a summary, which is, here we built you an itinerary.
I agree, but we always need to kind of remind ourselves about the end goal for businesses doing SEO. They want to grow businesses. So if, for example, in your example, booking.com wants to get more bookings through their website, they might start improving visibility for bots, not for people. Right. And I perceive this as an interesting challenge as well. So whatever the future holds for us, I'm pretty sure we won't be bored with that. And I don't know exactly how it unfolds, but we are at Surfer. We always try to be innovative, right? We always try to come up with some new solutions, depending on how the situation changes. And for me, it means that we'll have more interesting challenges to solve. For our users, more opportunities to kind of get advantage from, but of course at the same time some more threats. And that's how it always have been with any technology revolution or even evolution.
I like that idea that you can see the threat from what I'm talking about, and you say, well, don't pull away from it, actually look to engage with the bots rather than engage with people. I think that's a really good reaction.
I just wanted to maybe just add one more thought.
Sure.
I'm much more afraid of monopolies, right? Of platforms that are trying to integrate everything within them. And I saw some some actions in United States, in European Union, to try to fight with those monopolies and monopoly techniques. So maybe if we can, put a little bit more attention towards that, it will make everyone's life a little bit better. If we allow smaller players to take, part in that, let's say, journey.
I think there's a whole other podcast we could have about monopolies in the digital space, but we won't go into those right now. Let's take it back to what we were saying about the content and delivering the value to the user, you know, do you actually foresee like AI being able to help make some of the content more like useful for the users than users on their own can do? What's your take there?
Yes, I just got such feedback from one of our users that Surfer and our Gen I feature helped doing it exactly what you said for the content. We recently, sorry if that's like too much of auto promotion, but we just
No,
released
it's okay.
a feature called Topics, and what it
Yeah,
does, it basically analyzes what's going on in all the SERPs related for the query, and tries to understand what are the things that people are looking information for. So we consider
yeah,
them as a topic. So we have like large topic, which can be a type of car, and then plenty of subtopics about
yeah,
anything that's in this car or around this car, like the price or the guarantee or any other element. And if you think about any topic, like let's say in an article that you are about to write,
yeah,
there is hundreds of of points you need to cover. And
yeah,
what our tool does, it just checks if you covered all of them. So when you write about stuff, you can get a notification like, well, your article is really good, but you didn't mention about the price of it, right? And it just
right, okay,
reminds you to cover that. And if you look at the huge articles, when the number of topics is measured in hundreds, let's say, it's extremely easy. It's very easy to just
yeah,
forget about something, right? So our Gen AI feature just allows you to not forget about it, without
yeah,
doing anything with your work, without rewriting it or just making it a fluff or anything. No, it just pinpoints your attention towards some important thing that might be extremely important for the user, but you forgot to include it. And if you
yeah,
think about it, doing it at scale, you can, for example, analyze all the articles that you already have published on your website, right? And
yeah,
automatically check if all those articles have up-to-date information. If
yeah,
not, you can prioritize updating them
yeah,
yourself or with a team or with some
yeah,
AI solutions, of course, as well. But in general, you won't be able to do it manually. If you have a
yeah,
domain of 100 pages, maybe, but you would need to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort every week to check if all the information is up to
yeah,
date. With
yeah,
Gen AI and with sophisticated algorithms that do the work for you, you can
yeah,
just do it automatically. Click the button and wait for the moment when
yeah,
there's new information that occurred,
yeah,
and lack of that information or article in your article. So we can just connect the dots and say, Tim, you need to update this article because
yeah,
new information occurred. And if
yeah,
you won't do it, then your users won't be
yeah,
satisfied.
yeah.
And they
What?
probably will come off your, sorry, will stop reading it and, start looking
Yeah,
for answers somewhere else.
yeah. I like that idea of if you're new to it, or if like you come to an agency like us and we're applying surface technology, that you're effectively auditing all those pages against what actually makes a useful page, and highlighting
Yeah.
what's missing, what's not in them, at
Yes, and
scale. And again, it's the assistant factor, isn't it? The assistant to the human.
exactly. It's something that was just simply not possible before, because what we could do like 3-4 years ago was looking at entities, keywords only, right? So we probably would be able to just analyze hundreds or thousands of pages and just let you know that you didn't mention some important entities in your articles. But it's not extremely helpful, and it still requires a lot of effort to then debunk
Yeah,
what's behind the entity, what kind of topic it is, or how to implement that
yeah,
in your article. But now with generative AI that we use for both, maybe not generative AI directly, but those large
yeah.
language models to
Models.
analyze what's going on, and then generative AI to translate all the information that we have as tokens to
Yeah,
something that's digestible for human being, and
Yeah.
it's a recommendation. That's the era that we are in now, and it's possible.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about it because, it's just one thing that we automated, but how many more of things that can be understood by machines, but was not possible for us to translate to something that was useful to human, are out there. It's it's insane, and we are trying to kind of debunk what else can we turn from tokens towards something that's digestible for humans. I hope I didn't make it super confusing, but it's just hard to explain. Even it's hard to understand and explain how it works. But in general, it's just turning language of machines towards something that's understandable for humans, and you can take it to your advantage.
No, that sounds really good. And I think the next thing I want to touch on extends this in terms of something that we're doing at Innovation Visual with clients, is that we're doing more and more personalization on websites for users. So using things like HubSpot's Content Hub, which allows for dynamic personalization and that kind of thing. But what impact does personalization have on SEO, where we might have 3, 4, 5 different variants of a page depending on a user attribute? So going to the page, they might be from a different sector, so they're seeing different headlines and they're seeing different words in the content and maybe different imagery. How's that impacting SEO?
Well, that's a really good question. There's definitely one version of the website that you show to Google all the time, because if not, then it will be considered as a forbidden technique. So there is one version of the website that you always show to search engine bots, and based on that, I would say that to make it truly personalized for everyone, but at the same time, the same search engines, you can consider the article as a knowledge graph. All the information as dots that are connected to each other. You can consider it as a knowledge graph or group of entities or whatever. And that's the same for everyone, for search engine bots and for every user that reads the stuff that you have for them. But the layer of personalization is the style, the language that you use, even how it translates into other languages, right? All of that can be done with Gen AI while making sure that everyone gets the same information at its core, but served a little bit differently. What I'm trying to say? It's like the core is the same, but you just show it in a different ways. But in my opinion, that's exactly. So that's one of the ways I kind of believe in, and I also think it's not harmful, right? If you serve the same information but in various ways to different users, that's a good personalization. The bad personalization is when you have 100 different bubbles and people having access to different information, right? And believing in different things. That's when it becomes a little bit tricky. We already saw that in 2016 election, Cambridge Analytica, those bubbles. That can have a huge impact on how people perceive stuff. And it's risky, and it's very, very risky to play with.
The root of the question, if you like, from my viewpoint, is I was wondering whether we think that SEO and search will ever get good enough so that if there is, say, a version for a manufacturing company versus a version for a professional services company, that if I'm somebody from a manufacturing company and I'm doing a search, the engines will have indexed that manufacturing specific version and will actually take somebody to that version straight away. I mean, that's because if you think Google's trying to take people to different pages based on their intent and where they are on the journey, aren't they?
Well, I think that probably if we'll get to the place where it's 100% possible for all the websites, probably Google won't have to take people anywhere. They will just generate the answer in AI overview or whatever, right? So in that sense, I think that it won't matter for you anymore, because you probably won't have to have any click. You will just be orienting towards making a business out of it and optimizing CTA or any kind of information in AI overview that can help you turn that the person that's looking for information into customer. But this is a really good question, and I didn't think about it before. I definitely spent some time thinking about it. Maybe I will write something on my LinkedIn afterwards if I will come up with a better answer. So
Okay. Well, and I'll be sure to write a blog using AI to see whether you get that. If you do that, write a comment. But no, okay, that's a good answer, but with a slightly scary twist in terms of don't worry about it, because the search engine will do it with AI overview, so you're not going to need to do that. I mean, looking ahead at the emerging technologies and where we are now, what do you think is going to be the most significant impacts in, say, 2025 and beyond? Because I don't think we can future gaze as far as 5 years, but what's next year got in store for us, and maybe what the year after's got in store for us when it comes to a search situation?
So, well, definitely I will be observing closely what's going on with the trends, how people use search and various platforms like ChatGPT and Perplexity. Currently, it doesn't look like a threat for Google. I mean, Google still has 90% plus of the demand, right? And it's like, from what I'm seeing is, we have a surplus in number of users using ChatGPT and other platforms, but it's not cannibalizing Google business. I mean, as for now. So I'll be closely monitoring the situation there. In terms of the trends in technology, I think we are on the track with with making generative AI more sophisticated and cheaper at the same time. More players spending more money into that. So this is something that's going on, and it will be going on for the next year, that's for sure. From the marketing point of view, I think that there are some tactics that you can start implementing today to de-risk your business from anything that will happen in the future, and also take advantage of what's already we all know what's already working, and it's brand building. Stronger brands win in both ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google search. We also have a data that we will be releasing a data study soon on our blog, surferseo.com/blog, about topical authority and how to actually measure it, how you can create a score around it, and how to improve it ultimately, right? And we found out that one of the strongest factor in so-called topical authority is actually brand. And Google knows exactly how many people are searching for your brand in search, right? So the more people search for it, the more mentions to your brand are there. In web, both on various platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and anywhere else. The bigger your brand is in Google's perception, and the more trust it has towards you. Meaning, from business perspective, the more chances you have to show up higher for actually any keyword that's relevant for your business, and if you have, of course, relevant content around this query. So so that's my answer. Twofold, right? One, technology, it's pretty stable, on track, and it would just be another iterations of the same thing that we know. Pretty exciting, but also it requires you to be up to date all the time. From marketing point of view, I would say the best thing you can do, and the least risky, is to invest in brand building.
Okay. And specifically when it comes to brand building for SEO, for those marketing and revenue leaders that are listening or watching this podcast, what does that brand building mean in your mind to actually develop that awareness level at the point where search engines are taking notice? What are the practical things that they should be telling their teams to do?
So definitely investing in other platforms, such as being more visible on LinkedIn, social media platforms in general. Maybe investing in video content on YouTube and TikTok, some other platforms, right? Maybe doing some sponsorships, maybe doing a podcast like we are doing right now, and in general, trying to put the name of your business into the activities that you do. So, for example, if there are some companies that are investing in conferences, right, in doing conferences or sponsoring conferences, think about putting name of your business nearby the conference name. For example, I just came back from Ahrefs Evolve. That's the conference they did in Singapore 2 weeks ago. Ahrefs Evolve, right? They could name it Evolve, Evolve Conference, and probably that would do the job. But they did Ahrefs Evolve, and that's exactly what I'm saying that people should be doing.
Right.
Everyone who's searching for that conference, type Ahrefs Evolve in Google, and it also is amazing for the brand perception, right? Everyone's thinking about the Ahrefs and the conference element. So, you can do plenty of things. You can, publish a book, you can do a podcast on sponsorships, and just remember about maximizing chances of connecting your brand within the activity that you do. Simple, and ask because you have to do a lot of work around it. And my let's say one last tip that I have for all of the listeners is to do the groundwork. You really need to take your team and do the workshops together on how you want your brand to be perceived by the audience, who you are talking to, who is your audience, the persona, what channels they use to look for information, to just prioritize the good things that they will have the biggest impact, right?
No, that's really good. I like that. And that's I think that's a lovely place to kind of sort of bring it all together, because I've taken a lot of your time, and I'm taking a lot of our listeners' time as well, hopefully, and I'm sure they have found it very, very useful. Now, how could people reach out to you and the Surfer team? What would be the best way of them connecting with you if they want to know more?
So I'm obsessed with LinkedIn these days. So definitely through my LinkedIn profile or my company's profile. So it's Surfer or Tom Niezgoda, right? So you can type Tom Surfer and you will find me on LinkedIn definitely. So that's preferred way of contacting with me. And really, guys, if you to talk anything relate, hit me a message. I would love to. I would love to talk with you.
Okay, that's wonderful. We'll also include those links in the show notes on the various platforms as well, so make it easy for people to contact. But
Great.
Tom, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. Found it really, really interesting. And as we said before we hit record at the start of the program, I look forward to coming in and seeing you next time over in Poland with our team. So thank you very much for your time and really interesting insights.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim, and have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone who listened to us.
And for those of you listening, thanks again for giving your attention to us. I hope you found this really interesting. Please do comment, like, share, leave us a review. It helps other people discover the Digital Marketing Answered podcast, and we really, really do appreciate all of those reviews and those comments. We do read them all, so please do that. So until the next time, thank you very much. See you on the next Digital Marketing Answered.